Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. So this book has been on my list for a while, and it I wanted it to be better than it was. But the book is Beloved by Toni Morrison, one of the many books that has also been turned into a movie, and also part of the wave of like books out of the 70s and the 80s that Black women were writing, and really kind of highlighting some different elements of Black culture. So for those of you that haven't read it, it is a story about a woman named Setha, who she and her family were freed before the Civil War, and then they're living in Cincinnati after the Civil War, near Cincinnati. And she more or less has a secret that she's kind of been keeping from a lot of different people. And it relates to the fact that when she was, or when her children were very, very young, she tried to kill them to prevent them from being re-enslaved. She has run away from her owners, and she crosses the Ohio and lives in Cincinnati, right? And then they try and go and take her back, and so she doesn't want to go back for obvious reasons, and because she also doesn't want her children to ever really kind of experience the hardships in the life of slavery. She decides that she is going to kill them instead. She is not successful with all of them. And so she really only, kills one kid, and that particular daughter basically haunts the house. And so people stay away from them. They think they're kind of weird because there's clearly something going on. But yeah, so that's kind of the general story. There's a lot more to it, and it's I didn't know this until after I read the book, but this is actually based off of a true story about a woman whose name I think was like Margaret or something like that, and she did the same thing. Like, she decided that she was going to kill her children because she didn't want them to be enslaved. It's an interesting book, like the concept of it is very interesting. I really do like the idea of what would a mother do to prevent her children from experiencing something so horrendous. I think though that killing the children is just way on the left end. And so I knew that that's what the story was about, and because I had never seen the movie. I still haven't seen the movie, but I'd heard about it growing up, and I was like, this just doesn't make sense. And now that I've read the book, I'm like, it still doesn't fully make sense. You would, I could understand if Setha did it for herself, like she killed herself to prevent herself from having to go back. I could understand that, but to take the life of a child, just really struggling with that one. It also, it was also just, there was a lot going on. So one of the things I really didn't like about the book is it was just hard to follow. It was going back and forth between the current period and then what had happened in the past, and it wasn't always super clear what was happening or when it was happening, or who was talking. But it just got very, very, very confusing after a while, and so I really struggled with that. But overall, it wasn't what I expected in terms of a book. I thought it was definitely going to be more kind of focused on their experience with the spirit, and their experiences as they're moving through, and not so much hitting those very long passages of what happened in the past. It makes sense to an extent because you have to know what happened to the kids, right? But it doesn't make sense, like, overall, just like, okay, and now we're back in whatever year it was, you know? So I didn't really like that. The writing style was fine. I also did, audiobook part of this. And I did the audiobook that was read by, the author, Toni Morrison, and it unfortunately was awful. Like, and that's part of the reason I didn't finish the audiobook, or didn't finish the book as an audiobook, or listen to a whole ton of it. I, just read it, because it, like, being an author, I get it, like, they want you to read your book, but I wanted her to emote more and to, like, have some inflections in her voice in some way so that I would know what character. It was very confusing on, like, who was talking when, because they all sounded the same. Like, there was no change in, like, accent. There was no, like, nothing. Like, and I know not everyone is necessarily trained to read books dramatically, so there's that side of it, but I don't know, like, as the author, I thought it would have been better. So it just wasn't great. But yeah, like, overall, I would probably give this, like, a 2 out of 5. Like, it just wasn't really for me. Like, I don't know what I was expecting. I just wanted something a little bit different. And it just wasn't hitting for me. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm finding that, like, a lot of stuff that's coming out of, like, that 70s, 80s genre, with, Black authors is just not hitting for me. And maybe it's just because I have such a huge love of fantasy. It's not to say that, the fantasy books of that period aren't good either, because they are, and this arguably could fall into, like, historical fiction. But it just, I don't know, like, it just really felt disjointed. It felt all over the place. And I just wanted it to be far more straight. So there you have it. Beloved, again, by Toni Morrison, 2 out of 5. Not super high on my list, unfortunately. But still an interesting story. I don't think I'm going to watch the movie. I didn't like the book, so I'm not going to watch the movie. But yeah, so there you have it. As always, please continue to drop, book suggestions, book reviews, or not book reviews, book suggestions, into the comments of the book review. And I will add those to the list. Again, working through the list, a little bit slowly, but, like I said, now it's summer break and, got a lot more time to be reading and whatnot. And so, hoping to put a good dent in the pile. Yay. So I think that's it for me. I will see you all in the next book review. Bye.